Hey, everybody, I'm Madeline Sklar, host of the Social ROI Chat. We had a great one today because we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Patty Farmer. Hey, Patty, how are you?
I am great. And it was a great chat today, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so good. I mean, you were just on fire with your answer. So I'm really eager to do the after chat and get your expanded thoughts on the conversation. It's such a great community we have. We just got some great people. I'm glad they got the chance to meet you on there. You and I go a ways back. We met at a conference years ago here in Houston called Blog Elevated. And I remember seeing you and I was like, and you just were great. You were like on fire at that. I remember sitting, I was kind of in the back and just kind of like, I think it was my first time to attend that conference. And I was like, who's this Patty Farmer? She like really knows her stuff. So, so tell us
Thank
about
you.
yourself.
Well, let's see. So I'm back living in Dallas. So I'm from Las Vegas. And so I'm here in Dallas and I'm really excited to be back. Planning to move to Las Vegas next year, which is my hometown. And because I spend so much time with speakers and events, my daughter and I are building a castle slash hotel on the Las Vegas Strip that's going to have 4 event venues and
Wow.
no casino, but it's going to have 100 rooms and penthouse suites and 4 event venues. We're going to be able to do concerts there. So it'll really be great for me to be able to do all my events in my hometown and really to be able to work with my clients there too. So that's my big project going on now.
That is super cool. Thanks for sharing that. And next time I go to Vegas, I'll have to check it out after you get that going.
Yeah.
Um, so how long have you been doing the social media thing? Tell us a little bit about your business background.
So I have been in the marketing and media world for like 20 years before
Me
we even
too.
had social. Yeah, before we had
Back in
social
the
media.
olden days. You know, I was one of the first web designers here in Houston back in the old days of digital marketing,
Yeah, there you
22
go.
years ago.
Right, and the thing is, a lot of times people don't realize that some of those ways still work when it's appropriate, right? When it's
Right.
appropriate, they still do, but social just really changed everything. It elevated everything. It allowed you to be able to do things hands on. I mean, I can tell you some stories of ways that social has super changed people's lives and how we deal with our customers every single day.
Yeah, it's amazing the way social media changed the whole digital world with marketing. So that's great. Well, I'm so excited to have you expand on some of these questions we had today because we had some really good questions. So shout out to our team at Managed Flitter that puts together the topic and questions each week. And so I want to dive in because there's lots we're going to try to cover here. And I want to start with question number. Well, first of all, the topic today. Let me not jump too far ahead. The topic is achieving maximum ROI from social media. And so let's start with question number one. And and you don't have to give us your exact answers from earlier on the chat, but I'm just looking for your expanded thoughts to share. Twitter, we're limited with our character spaces. So this is a fun way to say more. So question number one is, how much time and resources should a company invest in social until they see actual ROI?
Well, I think that when you start something, the first thing that I think is really important is to have a plan and to know why you're doing it. I mean, really honestly, I think in everything you do in social, that is so important. Really honestly, spray and pray doesn't work anymore, right? It's really
Right.
important to know why. And I think that's the difference from when people say, oh, social media is a time suck, and people who find it very successful, like you and I, when we were talking about it earlier. So I think that's really important. So first of all, I think you really need to have a plan and you need to know why you're doing every single thing that you do. So that all comes back to strategy. And of course, that's my favorite word, right? So I think it is. So one of the things that I think is really important is, of course, you have to do everything and have a little bit of time, right? You need to decide whether it's 3 months, 6 months, but that doesn't mean that you're just going to do it for that amount of time and sit and wait. You're going to tweak it along the way. You're going to A/B test it. You're going to look and see. So one of the things I think is really important is tracking, right? Tracking and measurement is so important. So tracking your social media expenses, such as, the man hours of how much time that took. If you had to outsource it, like maybe you had a landing page done or something, right? What social media tools did you purchase? I mean, there's a lot of free ones and low cost ones, but sometimes we purchase tools that cost us money, right? And ad costs. And I think it's important to look at that on a per campaign basis. Like, what did that cost? But then, of course, the ROI is sales, email subscribers, right? Downloads, traffic, brand visibility, customer trust. Those are ROI too, right? Those are actual ROI for sure. But what people really want to look at is how much did that really cost me? So I think to do that, you kind of can just look at a formula. And I have this formula, which is earnings minus cost times 100 to calculate your ROI for each campaign. And I think the most important thing is that you need to figure out the ROI for every social network by segmenting the earnings and the cost per social channel. Because only if you do that and break it down per social channel can you focus on what's working, tweak what's not, right? And then kind of go along the way and see until you actually get the ROI that you're actually looking for. Sometimes you're going to find out that didn't work. Do you need to wait the whole 6 months if you said you were going to do it for 6 months? No, but you should be tweaking it along the way and seeing what is working and what is not working. And it's kind of like the wash, rinse, repeat, right?
Exactly. For sure. And Jim is here. Hey, Jim. He says static plans are the worst plans. You need to go in with flexibility in mind.
Absolutely. I really agree. That's why I think that even though you have a plan, the first thing you got to know about a plan is it's just the starting point, right? After that, right, you do have to be flexible and kind of look at all these different things and see how that is actually working for you. Because I noticed one of the things that kept coming up today in the chat was that everybody was saying that the things that we do on social media, should we only be talking to people who are equal to us in size of followers and size of our business? And it doesn't really matter. That makes no difference whatsoever. Now, maybe for some businesses, some corporations or companies, it may, but I really think that when you're talking about social media and you're talking about influence and value, I don't think that how many followers you have is necessarily going to matter. Unless, of course, you have 10 and somebody has 100,000. I don't think
right. Right. But it's more of a level playing field, right?
For sure. That's what's great about social media.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love that. And I mean, when you look at, like, say, the people that participated today that were sharing great answers, you go and look, okay, well, are they influential? Do they have a lot of followers? And it doesn't necessarily matter because you're making a great point. I mean, we could have someone on there that was very insightful that, you go and look and see what they're doing, say on their Twitter, and maybe they have 5,000 followers, but they come off very influential. They know what they're talking about. So I really like that it becomes more level. Is sure, there's the big brands, of course, but we're all out there connecting with people, collaborating with people, getting engagement. It's just endless with the possibilities on there.
And I think that really going back to that engagement really makes a lot of sense, because you can have somebody who has 50,000 followers, of which they could have bought, right?
Right.
And then when they tweet or they post something, like it gets 0 shares and crickets, right? So really, wouldn't you rather think about aligning your business or doing some type of collaboration or reaching out to somebody if maybe you serve the same target audience of somebody who may only have 1,500 followers, but every single time they post something, they get so much engagement. So there's a lot more than just numbers. Yes. I think a lot of times people want to just look at the numbers, but really, honestly, engagement is really what's it all about.
I totally agree with you. Let's move over to question number 3. What analytics tools would you recommend for measuring a company's social media ROI?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I really love is Google Analytics, right? So, hey, let's just start with them, right? Google Analytics to track your campaigns and your goals. So you got to know what those are, but they will definitely track them. And then I love Google URL Builder because it will assign a trackable link for your campaigns. So of course you still have to have a campaign, but if you create a campaign, again, going back to the plan and your why, it will literally track that for you and assign that link. And I think that's really, really important. I also love Sprout Social. I have to tell you, there's many, many of them, and I could sit here and name a lot of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
But one of the things I love personally about Sprout Social is that they're so generous in their information too. I mean, not just in the freebies they give out, but I mean, the reality really is if you were just starting in a business and you just went to their blog, you could get so much information just from their blog. I mean, they are really great about breaking down things. So if you have a blog and they're talking about something, they're not just telling you how it affects them or how you should use their service. They will literally break it down into bite-sized pieces for you. And I really think that says a lot about them. So I like working with them.
Yeah, great company. What about the native tools? You know, you can certainly go over to your Twitter and get your Twitter analytics. You go to your Facebook page and go get your insights. So how do you feel about getting your analytics through the native tools
I
and
really love them. And
platforms?
to tell you the truth, sometimes some friends of mine kind of tease me for as long as I've been in social media, but there's really certain things that I like to do on the site itself. For example, on my business page, I actually post and schedule those right through Facebook, even though there are third-party apps. But I think one of the things that people really need to understand is to do some research when they're talking about tools, because some of the social media platforms don't like some of the tools, right? They, the API there is really, it affects the algorithm. There's different things that happen. They like it more if you go through them. So I think that that's really important to do a little bit of research there. So if you can do it, I think you should. Like one of my absolute all-time favorite, it's been around a while, but I love Deliver It. I think Deliver It is
Okay.
fabulous. It's one of my favorite ones. And one of the reasons why I love it is because even at the inexpensive model, you can literally do so much if you're a social media manager. It's very, very inexpensive, and it always pulls the picture, the image, and it always looks beautiful. So when you don't ever have to worry that sometimes when you automate something and then you go look at it, it's like, oh, that didn't look so good. It looks so good across all platforms. And I really like that.
Interesting. I'll have to look into that one. Let's move over to question number 4. How can a business repurpose a blog post into revenue generating content? I remember you were sharing great answers here. So give us your thoughts.
Okay, so there's some of the things. I think this is really, again, a great thing about a plan, right? Thinking about it. I think always you should think about what are you going to do, and we should never do anything that we can't do more than one thing. And sometimes you can start backwards. So some of the ones I didn't even get a chance to talk about is every time you write a blog, think about how long it would take you to talk it, which is like less than 5 minutes, right? And so I think that every time you do a blog, you should do audio.
Yep.
And do the blog, because some people like to hear. Some people would rather listen than read. So we need to think about those things. But then I think you need to put all your content into an audio format and then syndicate it into a podcasting platform. And then you can always
Right.
share it on social media, right? I think
Exactly.
you can also like create things on PowerPoint. I have a lot of people who say, some of my clients are like, oh, Patty, I really don't want to do video. Like in the very beginning, they're like, I don't want to do video. And I'm like, good, then do PowerPoint and just talk over it.
Right.
Not that tough, right?
Yeah.
You can just talk over it, and you can do that. That can kind of work for you. Create memes and share them on visual sharing sites with links back to your blog. I think that's really important. Now with Instagram and some of the other ones, there's so many things that you can do that I really think that's important. But I think what happens is a lot of times people think of memes as quotes. And that does, but you can really do a lot with it. You can do some business tips that you might have, some stats that's happening in your business, right? You can do that. You can do shout outs to some of your employees when they achieve certain levels that you want to. There's a lot of way to use a meme that's not just doing a quote. So I think people should think about those. I think we can do multiple blogs. So if you've done multiple blogs, kind of think of it. You know how a lot of times we love it when somebody writes a blog, part 1, part 2, part 3. I love it when people do those. But if you think about that, again, thinking about the end, there's no reason why you can't take that blog and repurpose that blog into an interview. You could repurpose that blog into an ebook, or you can make it be a freebie or a bonus. So there's a lot of things you can do for paid programs. And you could do a whole blog series, and you could actually turn that into a book if you wanted to. You could do a whole blog series and then just add worksheets and some checklists and some exercises in it, and now you have a book. So I really think there's a lot of things that people can do to repurpose, and they can really think about what each one of those things are and try to find, what other way can I use this? I think it makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Now, one of the cool things we've done here at Manage Flitter with the social ROI chat is we took from last year, we took the first half of the year, all the guests that were on, and kind of did like a best of, like recapping, and put it into an ebook format, and we just give it away. And so I always share a link to it each week on the chat, so if someone hasn't downloaded it yet, they can go get access to it. And it was an interesting way to experiment and try, like, okay, we've got this great chat every week, great guests like yourself sharing all this amazing content. We don't want to just sit and go to waste. So why not repurpose it into an ebook? So that's been a lot of fun. I also take this chat and make a Twitter moments out of it. And so do like a mini recap. I love Twitter moments. It's like I have been doing this every week with this chat and my Twitter Smarter chat. And I've now built up a library. I have like over 100 Twitter moments now. And I just love that as a way to repurpose really great tweets. So I'm with you. I think repurposing is a smart thing to do.
And I also think that one of the things about chats that I really love is a lot of times there'll be a chat and it's happening at a time that you can't attend. I mean, that's just how it is. Sometimes you can't. I love that thing that you did about the top Twitter chats that you just posted yesterday. I was like, oh, I love that. That was fabulous. But one of the things I think is really great is, as long as it has a hashtag, and it does, right? You can always go back. And one of the things that I think is really great is almost always there's a Twitter list too. And this is really a great way to be able to go back and, in a slower pace and a time for you, to be able to go back, read through that, and then have a plan again, and then reach out to the people that you resonate with, that aligned with you, or said something really good that maybe this is a way for you to refer somebody or collaborate or whatever. But those Twitter chats are so wonderful because it's a group of people talking about a topic that you like.
Exactly.
It's almost like newsjacking, right? You're in
exactly. Absolutely. Because that's why I'm such a big fan of Twitter chats. I always tell people this is where you go to connect with like-minded people. And so I'm with you 100% on that. All right. We've got time for one more question. We're going to do question number 6. How do you build an engaged email list? I love this question. How do you build an engaged email list from customers who are also active on social media?
This is one of my favorite questions, so I have to tell you. So my favorite way is to do joint ventures with industry experts via podcasts, guest blogging, live and virtual events, speaking, digital magazines. I mean, it's literally limitless for the things that you can do to build an engaged email list from people who are active. See, that's the key word. You want people who are active on social media, right? Because the reality is you don't own your social media followers. You own your email list and your website. That's your real estate. Any social media platform could close down, and I don't care how many followers you have. You have 200,000 on Twitter. If they ever throw you in Twitter jail, right, you're done. So I think it's really important, and it's really important to engage. And one of the things that I think is really important that I see people, this is kind of like my thing, right, is that so many people spend their time worrying about how they're going to get people to opt in. So whether they do it through a freebie or a challenge or a contest, I mean, there's lots of ways on social media you can do that. But I think the question really is, what are you doing to get them to stay after they are on your list? Like, what are you doing to nurture them? Because these days, I think people are reading email with one finger on the delete button, right? They get inundated. But I'm going to tell you, 91% of the people who are on social media that have email literally purchase something and they always check their email every day. So when you're thinking about that, that's a great opportunity. Do you know what? According to Direct Marketing Association, the average ROI of one email is 4,300%.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
4,300% if you have one and it actually has an offer, you have an engaged list. So there's some criteria for that and stuff. So when you think about it, so how are you going to keep them? So I think that's really, really important. So for me, what's the stick strategy? A couple of ways that I do that I think are really, really important is I offer my list exclusive content that they won't get anywhere else. And you
Okay.
need to make sure in integrity that you do it. They also get to see everything first. They get to beta test everything. They get discounts. So I treat my list like gold because really, honestly, it's a lot easier to get somebody on your list than it is to keep them, right?
Exactly.
So
Absolutely.
nurture them. So when you think about it, for all the things that we do, you can post it how many times on social media. But if you have an engaged email list, you could send out one email. And believe me, if your list is engaged, revenue speaking, you have a lot more potential to make revenue from that.
That is awesome. I love this. Such great advice. And I agree with you with everything you say. I also, recommend to people I work with that, yeah, your .com you own and your email list you own. And that's something you can always rely on. I remember, I know people laugh, but I remember back in the MySpace days, I used to be in the music business. MySpace at the time was gold for musicians. I helped so many bands build fan bases, sell music, go on tour, and do all these things through MySpace. And when it was big, did anybody think it was going to go away? No.
It
But we
works
don't
until
have
it doesn't.
exactly. But we have no email addresses. We didn't, you can't collect anyone's email address. And so we learned such a valuable lesson back then that your email list is so incredibly important to build and nurture because, yeah, sure, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, they're all huge companies. We don't think they're going to go away tomorrow, but one day they could just shut down out of the blue. And it doesn't matter how many followers we have there. We don't have all their email addresses. So you're making really great points, Patty. Thank you so much for sharing this. This has been awesome. So,
Thank you. I think that one of the things I think to wrap it up, I think that's really important is when we're meeting people and connecting with people on social media, that's a contact, that first contact. But the only difference between a contact and a contract is the R, and that R stands for relationships. That's it.
oh, I love
Contact,
that.
contract, only difference is an R. So really, it's all about building relationships, right?
Absolutely. I love that. What a great way to close this out. Wise words. Thank you so much, Patty. How can our viewers get in touch with you if they like to chat with you?
Well, pattyfarmer.com works, obviously, and all my social media is on there. And I spend most of my time on Twitter. So that is my favorite place to hang out. So
I'm going to post a link to your Twitter here. So if anyone's watching this and was not on the chat today, they can easily get over here. I just pinned it to the top of the page and there it is. So be sure, everybody, to follow Patty over on Twitter and everywhere else because she rocks.
thanks so much. It was so great. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Manage Flitter, as well.
Yeah, thank you to everyone at Manage Flitter. We have a great team that helps us run this chat. All right, everybody, we'll be back next week with another chat. So until then, I'll see you out on Twitter. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye-bye.